Which of the following is a text-based web browser? So if you look at the answers, you can see two that sound similar. You will sometimes find this on the exam. Make sure you have the proper spelling. It is fairly easy in Linux because in most cases, things are named after animals. In case you guys haven't noticed that. So it is links like the Bobcat type links. Right. What is the package management tool used for Red Hat distributions? So Red Hat distributions use Debian package management. .rpm, Red Hat package management. Guys, see why that is what it is. Why is the answer not yum? Yum is a command. Is the command used? What the question is asking is, what is the package management tool? So in Red Hat, it's RPM. In Debian, it's the Advanced Packaging Tool, APT. It's funny, Zachary. Yum is usually what I get when I give people barbecue. Which of the following are not graphical editors? Nope. apt-get is for Debian. Yum is for Red Hat. Vincent. So one is for Debian systems. One is for Red Hat systems. But you can't use apt-get in a Red Hat system, and you can't use yum in a Debian system. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that based on the way it was asked. It's hard to get context through text or through messages. Yes. Postfix, SQL, and Nginx are not graphical editors. Inkscape is like Paint, and I showed you guys GIMP. You know the difference with Inkscape is you don't have to pay for Windows to get it. All right, what can be used as a file server in Linux? And choose two. Choose two of the following. And they'll write out questions on the exam like this sometimes also, where it just says choose two of the following. And if you just answer quickly, like I used to be in a bad habit of doing, you'll get the answer wrong because you didn't answer the question. So it is Samba and the network file system. All right. Which of these is not an MP3 player on a Linux system? You say A and C. And you would be correct. These ones are reversed. I don't know why. Good movie, Blake. I think it's because I got to watch it on 4D on my phone. Audacity is the audio player. So it allows you to change the different mixtures on sound, bass, treble, etc. So Banshee, Amarok, and Audacity, you can play MP3 files. That answer your question, Justin? It's fun. Then I get sidetracked with this work thing. Yeah, the green, that's what I was saying, is that their GIMP and LibreOffice are the correct answers here. That one was just reversed for some reason. Right. What is the Linux recommended location to get applications? I thought you could get everything at Walmart. I guess you can't get Linux applications there. There is no specific Linux website. If you put in a Linux website, it's going to take you to the LPI site for the certifications. Yes, then you go to Best Buy and they don't have the stuff that you need in stock. Not that that's ever happened to me. All right, what is the primary Linux email server? You guys are all saying C? I think when we talked about applications, Thunderbird was in the list. Thunderbird is an application. Postfix is the server. Thunar is a file manager. SQL is structured query language. That is for databases. So Postfix is the primary SQL stands for Structured Query Language. Type that in chat. D on the end of structure. Structured Query Language. All right, we did not talk about this. I forgot to talk about LAMP. But take a look at the bottom at the answers. It's only one. So because we didn't talk about this, it's Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. Just means those 4 programs. And they all work well together. Right. Which 2 operating systems do not use dpackage? Debian and Ubuntu do. They are both Debian-based systems. That only leaves us with only That leaves us with only Snow Leopard and Red Hat. All right, what is the free software license used for? So it doesn't mean it's always free. You are all correct. It sets the conditions and how software can be redistributed. Open source software ensures you have access to the source code, true or false. Everyone says true. And you would be correct. Which 2 answers are false? Look for this on the exam too. They like to be wordy with some things. Which 2 answers are false about cloud computing? If it rains, you lose all your data, and it's very dirty. Which command makes a variable known to the next program executed? The export command. Think about this. When you export something as a variable, remember I showed you guys how we did the ping of the router? They did the grep to find the router's IP address. Then it exported it to the next line and filled it in to do the ping. Do you know how you know you brought your kids up right? If you're a Linux administrator? When they reply like this. Sometimes you just gotta throw some stuff in for fun to see who's paying attention. I'll throw that one in the class drive for you too. Which of the following commands would sort the results of the ls command? It's almost like you guys know how pipes work. Maybe doing a fortune, pipe, cowsay, pipe, LOL count or something. I don't know. You may have seen that somewhere before. What command would you enter to view a manual for command? Do you remember when I said that on the exam, when you get to these, to the fill in the blanks, you'll know what they are? They're like this. This is what the fill in the blanks are like. Questions like this. Don't stress out over the 3 fill in the blanks. Now I wonder if you guys are saying, man, like that's the answer. Like, man, that's easy. How do you find the word list in a man page? That does work. But you can do a / list. What are the Linux equivalents to Microsoft's / question mark or question mark? Is there a help in Linux? Your info pages and your man pages. There's a -- help or a -h, but neither one of those answers are on here. In order for A to be correct, it would have to be -- help. guys see why it can't just be help? I tried telling you the answer, but it didn't work. How do you search for help files that are, how do you search help files for hidden? You guys say A. You would be correct. Justin, that's exactly the way to learn it. That is the best way to learn Linux, is to do it. And yes, there are 1001 and 1002 questions on the Linux exam. There are port questions, questions about drives. So what are the different? Choose two differences between solid state drives and hard disk drives. Yeah, B&E. Hard disks are much slower, and solid state drives have no moving parts. What type of cable is commonly used to connect an should be an SSD to a motherboard? Be sure you don't need an adapter or an Ethernet cable. No, Justin, the question is typed wrong. It's typed wrong because you would say, if you're typing out the abbreviation for SSD, it should be connect an SSD because it begins with a vowel sound. If it was written out as solid state drive, what type of cable is commonly used to connect a solid state drive? So that's why I paused right there. It should say "and," because when you say SSD, it begins with a vowel sound. There you go. There's your English lesson for this evening. It threw me off when I read it. Where is your BIOS information stored? My biography, of course. Oh, BIOS. Not my bio. Stored on the motherboard? Yep. Sometimes I do that just for fun. What symbol indicates you are authenticated to root? All right. What is the easy way to remember this? The dollar sign looks like an S. That means you're a standard user. So S for standard. How are IP addresses stored in a DNS server? Are you guys sure it's not C? Why is C incorrect? They are stored in pointer record. Going back to MTA server, do you guys remember the types of records in DNS? A single A record is for IPv4. A quad A record is for IPv6. No, Adam, they're the AAA are the people you get a triptych from. How many of you even know what a triptych is? How many of you don't? So way back in the olden days, prior to, PTR stands for pointer, a pointer record. So way back in the olden days, before GPS, before we had these awesome computers in our pocket, I have a picture of one. If you were a AAA member, when you were going on a trip, you would get a map you could turn from one page to the next as you were traveling. So this is a really old one. Do you know how we know this is a really, really old one? It's not, nope, it was not an atlas. It was a specific route just for you, for the trip you were taking. Yeah, the reason I know this old one is because they would stamp which states you had to have your seatbelt on it, because seatbelts were not required in all states way back then. Yeah, we used to fight when we were on our trips to Florida, my sister and I, about who got to turn to the next page. To be driving by the cities, you know, while you were playing the license plate game. Because, you know, there were no electronic devices back then. You had to look out the window to entertain yourself. And it's a long drive from Massachusetts to Florida. And we used to drive straight through. Nope, no computers back then. Only computer you had was a calculator. All right. When you enter the top command, what is shown? Back to our review. Yeah, our running processes in the order of the most resource intensive. In Linux, what is the command used to convert domain names to IP addresses? What translates our addresses? Okay, that is what the host command does. It tells us what the address is. So here we did host google.com. So this is like a ping, but instead of a ping, it's giving you the IP address of whatever website you're looking for. I'm sorry, I didn't see those two questions about how to get, Control C to interrupt anything in Linux that's running continuously. So if you run ping and it keeps going, Control C to interrupt. I don't, for future reference, I'm giving you that any interruption you want to do within terminal is usually Control C. All right, which of the following is an example of the free command being used? My favorite word. You say C, and you would be correct. Nope, D is an ls-l command. It is showing files with the permissions. When you type the word free, when you think about the word free in Linux, it's memory. Free memory is what you're looking for with that command. How do you find your IP address in Linux? Yeah, sure, it's not ipconfig. I think we talked about that earlier. ifconfig. Here's what's awesome on the slide. They did the route command. The answer is ifconfig. Wrong picture. The route command does show you your 3 closest DNS servers, however, and the default gateway to them. This is showing this because it's a VM. But figured while we were looking at it, may as well talk about it. What command shows current running processes? Yeah, the top command. If we did ps space dash AX, that would be correct. But there is no ps now command. Unless you mean my kid when he gets home from school. I'm going on the PS now. Where do new configuration files go? Remember, I told you guys where all your configuration files are stored. They're not stored in your config file. Stored in your etc file. All configurations are in the etc. So that stands for etc. Which device is the third partition on the 6th hard disk? on the first IDE controller. We have some B's and some C's. So this is another one of those that is kind of funnily worded. It's asking for the information in the opposite order. It's asking you for the partition first and then the disk. What are all disks in Linux characterized as or listed as? Are they letters or numbers? They're all letters. Partitions are all numbers. So to get to the sixth hard disk, that would be A, B, C, D, E, F. So it'd be disk F, partition number 3. Partitions are always numbers, disks are always letters. So make sure you look for questions like this. Slow down and read the question. Because a lot of you probably said, what's the third disk on the sixth, with the sixth partition? Don't have to be the first one to answer on the exam. You have to have the right answer on the exam. You don't need to be the first one done. You need to have enough right answers to be certified. How do you show system boot messages? Yeah, it's almost like we just talked about this a little while ago. So your boot process is shown in the kernel. That is where your system boot messages are. Which two commands show you available memory? I don't base my time on other people, Stephen. I'm only worried about me and the examiner. I don't even notice other people in most cases. The top command actually shows you memory. You can run the top command and hit the M key, and it will convert showing the greatest amount of memory. But you can also see it up top here in the top command. I keep pointing with my mouse, like you guys can see. Remember when I showed you guys the top command to show you how you could hit M? And it'll show up by the most memory usage. So free on the top command. In Linux, what is the number that identifies a process call? You know what's crazy? In Windows, what is the number that identifies a process called? Believe it or not, the same thing. They're both process ID numbers. In Linux, what is the name of your loopback interface? When we looked up our ifconfig, Your loopback interface is LO for loopback. All right. Which command will search for the file oldmusic.txt in your documents directory? Choose 2. We have A's and D's. And it is A and D. That funny thing after the find and before the dash name is what is called a tilde. TILDE. That is essentially an abbreviation for your home directory, so you don't have to write out /home. It is the shift and the key next to your letter 1, to the left of the letter 1. Yeah, the letter 1, or the number 1. Which Ubuntu release is usually the most stable for businesses? Oh, come on, it's not Ubuntu. Nobody's created that one yet, by the way. It is the LTS releases. What does LTS stand for? And what does it mean? Long-term support, and how long will they support that particular operating system for when it says LTS? 5 years. Which is why it's used on servers, because once you load the operating system, it's good for 5 years. And it's supported for 5 years. In about 4 years, they come out with a new version to replace one that's going to expire a year from that. The new long-term support version. What does a shell program do? I like D. Still like D better. Yeah, it executes the command you enter into it, the born again shell. So when we're in terminal, we're in a born again shell, and we type ls, that's a command. Kevin, what part of Maryland are you in? Sneak over the bridge, go to Virginia, hit HK by the Bay. Have some crab cakes down there. Really good place. Little hole in the wall place. Cody, you got hogs? I got a smoker. HK by the Bay, Kevin. Which command moves the directory home/current to home/old world? All right, which ones can we eliminate first? Well, we're moving, we're not copying, right? So we can immediately eliminate B. D is not in the correct order. What's wrong with C? Look at the word current. Is there a capital C in it? Don't forget, Linux is case sensitive. Another thing to pay attention to on the exam. All right, so we can eliminate 3 answers here just by looking at them. If we can eliminate 3 answers, there's only 1 left. Sometimes you can answer questions by a process of elimination, by eliminating the wrong answers just by looking at them. All right, what is true about Linux passwords? Do you guys think they are always encrypted? They sure are. Remember, I showed you guys the Linux password. You saw the halted hash. Because you sure don't think somebody's remembering 128 characters, do you? I mean, I'm lucky if I can remember 12.8. Actually, I'm pretty good with numbers. Like I can tell you that 232-58404 is my rifle serial number from boot camp. And that was 33 years ago. All right. Anybody have any questions about these so far? Cool, because that's the first half. We still have another half to go. But I think we need a break first. So it's 8:49. Let's just come back at 9. We'll do an extra minute. What the heck? It's our last night. I'll give you an extra minute of break. How awesome is that? All right. I will see you guys then.